Why, good evening, you beautiful souls. Welcome to another Satsang. And today is, the necessary work that needs to be done when you're humbled by life. And much like the yin and yang, we start our journeys in the shadows going towards the light. And after we come to realize certain things, it's important to fulfill the other aspect of the yin and yang, and that's to come from the light and to illuminate the shadow. And in my personal experience, unfortunately, there are things that you come to see the hard way about yourself that you run away from. And I think that's one of the common things about this human experience that we can all come to understand and relate with. It's that the conditionings we receive in our youth can deeply imprint themselves and cause delusion, can cause misperception. And ultimately, it's the assumptions that we take and make combined with these aspects of ourselves that we get ourselves in trouble and chaos. And I know personally, it sucks. It sucks to be the cause of other people's pain and hurt because of things that you are deluded to and oblivious to. And the satsang meditation tonight is really so we can all come to this deeper ground of understanding of the pureness absent of the shadow, and ultimately shine that light of love that we are innately and purely on it, so it can be illuminated, so we can fully recognize and liberate ourselves from the old. And in this type of work, it can be a little triggering. It's going to be all the deepest, darkest things about yourself. So try to be positive and remember that all is grace. It's a blessing to have these things revealed to you, and no matter what the lesson that they come in. So with that, go and get your last few wiggles out. When you hear the first 3 taps of the singing bowl, take a long, deep breath in as you hear that bell ring. And as you exhale, transform that breath into a mighty and powerful Om. Allow yourself to relax and lower the jaw so the A note may resonate. And as you close the mouth, the U and the M will form naturally. Release the body of breath here. Continue to relax, allowing each exhale to release more and more bodily tension. Let go of the worries of yesterday, of today, of tomorrow, and simply rest and marinate in the now. It's here in this practice of stillness we come to fall in love with the rest, the simplicity of being. And just as we befriend this restful state of sitting and relaxing, so too we begin the process to peel back those layers of tension to befriend the shadows within ourselves. When you hear the final tap of the singing bowl, shift your attention again to the sound of the bell as it rings. And as it drifts into the stillness and the silence, so too allow the dust to settle within your own being, and simply observe and rest as that silent witness and knower. And there can be no darkness without light. Just as we would never even recognize there was a difference between the dark if their light was absent. It's this dualistic experience that we must come to recognize the importance of the shadow and the necessity of the light. For when one is in imbalance, we can see that this dualistic experience is not possible. If you are too attached and identified with the intangible, more spiritual light aspects of ourselves, we become dissociated in this physical body. Yet just as we so often experience growing up, when we become immersed in the shadows, identifying ourselves with the lesser happenings, we become lost. It's these lessons learned through pain and suffering that bring us into a clearer recognition of what is light and what is dark within us. But ultimately, we must recognize that all of these shadowy tensions that are observed within are but teachers internally for us. For they're in its innate nature, there is nothing wrong with darkness, nor is there nothing wrong or good about light. They are simply states of existence. They are simply energies represented, but each side of this coin are one and the same. And that is the important knowing here, is that without these shadows, we would never come to understand the truth within our own being. And although these are the lessons of suffering and of pain, these are the ones that bring us into a deep and profound liberation, one we are open enough to see. So look within your own being. Look within your own heart. Does your shadow cause you to close off from yourself, from others? To harm yourself or to harm others? We must come to see that this shadow, this innate protection, safety mechanism that many call the ego, is but a survival tool. But it is one that fundamentally operates in the lesser, survivalistic centers. Meaning, if we cannot utilize our own divinity, our love, to transmute these forces, they will keep us stuck in the shadows and in the mud, sludging along. And it will be a life of difficulty. It'll be a life of forced lessons. And as the law of inertia continues to play out, each and every example will become more and more extreme. For life is trying to get us to look at what these so-called chaotic, stressful, drama, suffering-filled moments are trying to reveal to us. That these are lessons, and we only know when we know. But that is the objective truth about this reality. For to hold on to the pain, to hold on to the remorse, will only continue to arise when we do not give ourselves the chance to heal, to learn, to recognize and to assimilate and build that understanding through action. So what are we holding on to? What illusion are we assuming is correct? And most importantly, what is it within our own beingness that's still holding on and refusing to see why those shadowy aspects of our own nature are causing us suffering and others suffering? Rewind it back to your youth, Where were these behaviors learned from? Where were those first moments of your demonstration of them? And know that everything that is being revealed in these months is intended to bring us into a closer and more refined authenticity of our divine expression. So see these reservations and tensions with love and explore them with glee. For your greatest teacher is one that life has already given you. It is in fact this body, this horse, this noble steed that everyone else calls the name that it was birthed with. But you have known this body before it has been named, so come back to the state in which you are the sole owner, in which you are the sole influencer, and come to see that that is your unique spark. But in these shadows, we must come to recognize fully that they are a response to something in life. Often not, these are our first lessons. These are our first memories. These are our first pains and woes. To identify it as a trauma, to identify it as some stagnation of growth, is far too severe than what it truly is. For all illusory aspects of our being are but thoughts believed in and identified with. And when we finally see what is true and what is false, it is as simple as a light switch. It takes no efforting. It is that divine and innate knowing that you are. So how can you shine and pour the love into these aspects of yourself in which you resent, in which you know harm yourself and others? For that is the purpose of the higher centers in these intangible knowings, is to bring the upper three centers and pull up the lower three into the middle of the heart, that throne of the soul. To recognize your cause in the play, to own up to that knowing. But it comes back to that expression of hurt people hurt people. And when we look at what happens in the heart, when something arises within us, a wall is put up, therefore it will cast a shadow. So how can we shine the light to it? Well, the simplest answer is to take down that wall. So take a few moments to look within yourself. And what is observed? When you choose to remove this wall of the heart, when you choose to look at these wrongs in which we've done to ourselves, to these falsehoods in which we've adhered to all the assumptions holding us back from a true knowing, often not in these explorations of our darker traits, of those learned behaviors. It's important to know that it's not you. For if you choose to identify and attach with it, you give it permission. For when you recognize what within yourself is not genuine or authentic. Give it no attention. And instead, pour your love and pour your beingness into what you know is present. For it's here there is no circumnavigation of that in which has been attached and identified, but rather a loving release and letting it go. Knowing that you have a choice, that you no longer have to continue the stories of old. And that is ultimately the purpose of all of these happenings that we call and identify the shadow. For they are but torches passed on to us by our parents, who were handed them by their parents and other relatives, and so on and so forth. These generational, ancestral wounds are but areas in which we lack development. So we must be honest within ourselves and look at where we need to shine that light to grow. And there's a lot that can arise when one can look within and address their wrongs. One is simply that the heart feels a lot lighter. So give yourself permission to take a deep breath here, pulling in that breath from the heart space. And a long, slow exhale to release. Take another deep breath here. And a big sigh of relief. One more deep breath here. And a long, slow release. And as you simply rest in that stillness, begin to envision your youthful self. If you can, try to identify the age in which you learn these behaviors, these conditionings that you were soaking up, or these experiences that caused a reaction and a response. How old were you? What did you look like? How did you feel like? How did you see the world at that age? And then simply look at yourself internally, as if you are staring right in the eyes of your youthful self. Would they be proud of who you are now? If it's not a full yes, then those are the shadows that you must investigate. Ultimately, it is these shadows that reveal to us the avenues of healing that need attention. But the most important aspect of this work, as stated earlier, is humility, accountability, and honesty. And until we look at ourselves within in such a light, we'll forever be stunted and incapable of growth, forever fighting the same cycles and patterns, without the opportunity to ever fully illuminate those shadows with the light. So pay no attention to the current and the past, but focus on the future and live in the now. For all we can do when we see these shadows is to continue to build our understanding. And as our knowledge of these aspects of our own nature and beingness become transmuted and transformed, we release ourselves back into that youthful, childlike knowing, that innate pureness that is always present. Ultimately, it's the shadows that are revealing to us the most opportunistic avenues to advance. Those last realms of imbalance, insecurity, ungratefulness, anger, separation. It matters not what your shadows express. They can only be released and healed when we give them space. So again, give yourself a moment to explore. And when you hear the final tap of the singing bowl, shift your attention fully to the sound of the bell as it rings. And as you exhale, transmute into a powerful and mighty Om, to not only call in more understanding into the shadows of ourselves, but more opportunities to recognize, to understand, to heal and liberate ourselves from them. So we can continue to peel back these layers of the false, ultimately revealing the truth within. Release the body of breath here. Namaste. I bow to the divine within you. And thank you so much for tapping in. Yeah. Humbled by life. It's been a very transformative past few days. I'm a very big knower of, well, you don't know until you know, and believe me, I know now. There's something truly tragic about the statement of hurting people, because we normalize and personalize and identify and desensitize ourselves to such absurdities in this world. And I know personally, my lack of love, my lack of truth, my lack of integrity hurts someone I really care about. And I was deluded as fuck about it. And that's the important part about this journey called life in this human experience, is it doesn't really matter where you're at until the full mission is done. And even then, it's always unfolding. One aspect of this shadow work that's really come into the forefront of my experience is just how deeply rooted these things are, and just how normalized we become to a lack of love, to a lack of appreciation, to a lack of sacredness. And it doesn't matter how things are expressed, but ultimately our shadows come from an innate illusion of some lacking, of some assumption being held on to, some response to fear. It's a closing off. That's why when those walls goes up, the shadows come down. It's natural. And the only thing that we can do to stay afloat in the wake and chaos and despair and all of the suffering that shadows reveal to us is to remember why we're here, that all is grace, that this is a playground of divine learning and knowing, and that when life presents us with something that we don't like, we don't have that, well, it doesn't taste good, that doesn't sit well in here, it's because it's for us to transform, to ascend, to liberate, to heal, to identify. There's so many words and things that you can call it, but ultimately, the one thing that we can do when these things are revealed to us is to look at them and to not look away. It's what Jesus said, as by traversing through those valleys of the shadows of death. These are the things about ourselves that we hate and are dissatisfied with and run away from the most. I know that personally, and not proud of it, very ashamed, very upset. But the only thing that I can do is put an end to the cycles here. And that's all any of us can do. That's what our role is here as the children, is to end all of those cycles of old. That's really it. You know, as you've heard me say many a times, we're here to unbox and keep unboxing that unique gift that we are. And once we get to that divine light and knowing, well, now you gotta show it. You gotta just shine it, illuminate the darkness for yourself and get yourself out. And especially in moments like these, it comes back to all is grace. And it sounds super cheesy, and it's definitely not a good thing to hear when you're in the wake of it. But it's that trust and faith in the process that will get you through it. Yeah. It's that knowing that when you change how you perceive the stressors from life, your body and everything else aligns with that. I mean, that's Western scientifically known, that if you change your mental approach to stressors in life, that your body actually doesn't really go through a stress response. And this is the purpose of indifference. And everything that life has been presenting everyone these past few months has been to, especially those that are aligned with this path, it's to reveal all the things about our core that are not in alignment with what we're here for. And all of those things that aren't in alignment are going to be brought up to the surface to be expunged, to be cleaned out. So the choice is yours. I know what mine is. Fuck this. Fuck that shit. That's not my style. That's not my vibe. And I know I'm not here to repeat generational mistakes anymore or traumas. I'm here to mend them and heal them and change. And that's all we can do. Is it's a choice. And when we know, we know. And when we don't, that's the aspect of compassion. To truly just remember that we're all in this divine playground and everyone's at a different part of their journey. You know what you know. And with that, may the fruit of knowledge offer a seed. And in that seed, may your love, will, and intuition give life and nourishment. For a tree shall grow, and in its shade may you find peace, and offer peace to all who ask. Namaste. I battled the battle then, and I love you so much. I will see you Sunday. Take care.